When I was getting ready to welcome my first baby, one of the last things on my mind was breastfeeding. I figured it's natural, so if it's meant to be, it'll just happen. But I was woefully unprepared. I'm Maria Andrea, the Community Engagement Specialist from Williamson County and City's Health District, a county just north of Austin, Texas, who's a passionate public health worker with almost a decade of public health experience, dedicated to making public health more accessible to you, the public, on Public Health Is. If you've ever been curious about the ins and outs of public health, join me for a special series I'm calling In the News to learn more about emerging public health issues, how they could and would impact the Lone Star State, and what that means for you as a resident of Williamson County. So today, I've got two very special guests if you'd like to introduce yourselves.
Hello, my name is Mahogany Scott. I am the breastfeeding peer counselor for Cedar Park WIC offices. I am also a full spectrum doula. I have been a breastfeeding peer counselor for going on 10 years now.
I'm Jaymee Michalk, and I am a breastfeeding peer counselor at the Round Rock location from the Health District, and I've been a breastfeeding peer counselor for almost 3 years.
Awesome. So yeah, we're talking about breastfeeding today. August is Breastfeeding Awareness Month. I've had 2 babies now, one that I'm still currently breastfeeding, one that has long been weaned, thank God. Can you ladies kind of walk me through the process? I don't think a lot of women know that your breast milk starts forming
Prenatally.
exactly, and that there's a lot of benefits to it. So tell me more about it.
Your body starts to create its milk between 12 to 16 weeks prenatally. So your body knows you're pregnant. The breast milk itself provides a bunch of proteins, fats, carbohydrates, vitamins, minerals, all for the baby. It contains immune components like antibodies that protect the baby from infections and helps lower the risk of several common illnesses like SIDS and respiratory infections. There are also a plentiful amount of benefits for the mama. The breast milk causes the release of oxytocin, which then helps the uterus contract after birth and then reduces postpartum bleeding. Okay. Longer breastfeeding equals lower risk of breast and ovarian cancer, type 2 diabetes, and hypertension.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah. Breast milk isn't just food. It's food, immune protection, and biological communication all in one.
And I would add on to that beyond the physical benefits of breastfeeding, you can also create the opportunity for bonding and connecting mom and baby in the long run, because my 4-year-old is still attached to the hip, basically.
Oh.
Yeah.
And I like what you mentioned about passing on those antibodies to baby. I like to relate it kind of like that's that first immunization,
Right.
essentially, that babies get directly from mom. Personal story, when my son was born, probably at 5 days postpartum, I tested positive for COVID. And when I was talking to the doctor, I'm like, okay, do I stop breastfeeding? Do I need to separate from the baby? What do I do? He said, no, you need to keep feeding that baby because that's the only protection he's going to get is through that breast milk. So
Right.
for the most part, if you are sick and the doctor says it's okay, keep feeding that baby because that's how you're going to give them that protection.
Yes.
But outside of that, the breast milk changes as baby grows, right? I remember them saying, and I've seen videos on social media of women harvesting colostrum before baby's even born because that is what they deem the liquid gold. But what is it actually? Before we go even further, what is colostrum? Because I know that differs from when the milk actually comes in and then as baby gets older, all that changes.
Yeah, so colostrum is basically the first type of milk that your body makes. Some women can get it starting really super early, like 21 weeks, and they'll start slowly dripping and everything else, hence why your doctor will say you can collect it. But it also is that first milk that baby needs fresh out whenever baby is born to get those antibodies and everything after baby comes out of the nice little womb that they've been in for the past 9 months. And then they're open to all of our big germs that us adults have and everything.
Yes. So to piggyback off of Jamie, your colostrum is the first milk that your body will be producing. It's very concentrated. I like to compare it to molasses, the consistency of it. It's real thick, it's real sticky, and it can be of a very yellow color. And we produce that, like Jamie said, for the first couple of days after having baby. And then your body goes through a transitional stage. And then after that, you'll get your mature milk. And then your mature milk is divided up into 2 different kinds of milk, the fore milk and the hind milk. And I like to compare the fore milk that's in front of our breast, like right behind our areola. And that is where baby gets like all the water proteins, things like that. And then you have the hind milk, which is pretty much against the chest wall. And that's where baby's going to gain all the weight from. So that's all the fats, the carbs. That's like whole milk, the baby. If the mom is freshly pumping and she puts the bottle in the refrigerator, she'll see that it starts to separate. And that thick layer on top is that fattier milk of the hind milk. And that watery looking one, like I used to call that my 1% milk. That is, you never want to shake it. You don't want to shake breast milk. You want to swirl it.
And I read too that your breast milk is like a living organism in and of itself because it responds to whatever your baby needs.
Right.
So it is constantly changing outside of just those initial, from the colostrum to transitional to what we associate with regular whole milk.
I feel like formula is designed to stay consistent, where your breast milk is
Constantly
designed
changing.
to be dynamic.
Yes,
Yeah.
dynamic.
It
That's what it
constantly
is.
changes every day. So it's cool.
But as great as breastfeeding is, we know that it can be a little difficult. I can tell you firsthand with my daughter, I had a C-section. So that in and of itself was not able to do skin to skin right away. And with my own mom, having had me in the early 90s, the push was very much formula. And so she said, I was not able to breastfeed. And they said, here's a bottle. There you go. Be on your merry way. So my assumption was very much the same thing. Okay, well, it's not going to happen. Thankfully, the nurses there were like, no, well, let's try. And so milk came out. We were like, whoa, okay, all right, going somewhere. And then latching was incredibly painful. And they said, that's normal. This is your first time doing this. It's going to be uncomfortable. You'll get used to it. But discharge kept going and going. And it just felt like my baby had to be on the boob all the time, all the time. So I followed up with a lactation consultant and she says, well, your baby has a tongue tie. So that's why it's hurting. Potentially she could grow out of it. Potentially we're going to need some intervention. It's up to you. Do you want to continue breastfeeding or want to transition to formula? I said, okay, I think I can do it. And she said, you're going to need a pump. And at that point, didn't even know what that was. But I'm breastfeeding. I don't get it. And she goes, you're going to have to be supplementing in the meantime. You need to get a pump, which we'll go into that a little bit later. And she goes, have you been measured? Have you done this? Have you done that? No, nobody told me this. You know, they prepare you for the birth and they tell you all the things you need to go through. Nobody tells you ahead of time, hey, you really got to prepare if you want to breastfeed. Thankfully, it was that lactation consultant that told me your nipples should not be bleeding. They should not be cracked. It should not hurt. And your baby should not be on you 24/7. So went into it triple feeding, which was crazy. Yes. I have Mahogany that look, you all can't see it, but she's giving me a look. I was not sleeping. I was losing my mind and got very close to calling it quits because as much as I was trying, my daughter just kept losing weight and going down and down and down to the point where the pediatrician said, I don't think this is working. We need to try something else. I reached out to my sister-in-law, who's a board certified lactation consultant. And she said, you know, in the transfer, your baby's taking enough milk. So this is not a supply issue. We already know she has the tongue tie. I think we need to get that assessed. Okay. Took her to a pediatric dentist, essentially, which that too. Do women know that when they've got tongue ties, these are things we got to do? No, right? But saw the dental specialist that said, yep, 100%. We're going to clip it right then there. Night and day difference.
I
was
bet.
like, oh my God, this
pain.
doesn't hurt. She's unlatching by herself. I'm not having to force her off. She's actually sleeping longer stretches now. And she started gaining weight. I think within a month of having the procedure done, I stopped pumping overnight and doing like the middle of the night pumps, which was fantastic. I stopped doing formula and was full just breastfeeding. And she went back up in percentile. She had dropped to the 8th percentile by that point when she was born. She was in the 20th. So it was quite a decrease. She went up to the 16th within a month. The pediatrician says, what are you doing differently? She got her tongue tie removed. Like, we're good. That's when I realized, yeah, this is so amazing. Wow, okay, if this is what it's supposed to be like, yeah, I want to keep going. And I did till 18 months because she didn't want to come off.
Good for you. And that's the turning point for me with my career as a breastfeeding peer counselor. I love my moms who have this positive experience with breastfeeding from the start. Great. I love that for you. But I take extra pride in my moms who come to me with their issues Because now I'm like a problem solver. Let me help you achieve your goals, right? My goal is to never be a peer counselor that's going to pressure you into breastfeeding. My goal as your peer counselor is to be what my job title is, a peer counselor. I'm to be your peer first, but also help counsel you and help you along your journey and achieving your specific goals. Because everyone's breastfeeding journey is different. Mine is different from
Facts.
Jaymee's. Mine is different from yours. And I breastfed my son for 3 years.
Wow.
Yes, I breastfed him for 3 years, and I wouldn't change the journey that I had to go on because that is what made me be like, I can help other moms with this. I had my son at a younger age, and I didn't know that this was even a career. I just assumed like every first-time mom or almost every first-time mom, breastfeeding should be natural. It's what our bodies are made to do, right?
Which sometimes it's not that way.
And okay, quick story. But he didn't eat for like the first 6, 7 hours he was born. And the nurses that came to see me while I was still in the hospital, they were saying, "Oh, he doesn't like your breast milk." He hasn't even had it yet. Like he's not eating. Well, let's just try this formula. But he's not eating. And you just said he doesn't like my breast milk. There were so many questions going through my mind. Come to find out, he had swallowed so much of my amniotic fluid. I didn't even know that was a thing. You know, at that age. Well, it makes sense now. You're submerged into this for 9 months, right? So once they ran all the tests and did all that they can do, they finally pumped his stomach. And he had good, maybe like 12, 15 mLs of amniotic fluid just sitting on his stomach. That doesn't digest. So he came into the world full. They pumped his stomach. He latched immediately. And like I said, we were on our own journey for 3 years before he broke up with me. He would night feed. One night he was just like, no. I'm like, okay, maybe you had like a rough day. At 3, you had a rough day. After that, he was like, nope, I'm done, Mom. Okay. I wasn't prepared for that, but I also didn't know how to wean.
Oh, yes.
That's another thing.
Yep.
Nobody
that
educates you on that.
100% happened. Once we got in a good spot and she was past a year and she was already eating solids, she was drinking whole milk.
She was thriving.
How do we stop?
Right.
What do I do?
You're like, Mommy wants her body back. Thank you.
It's a full commitment. And like that ties into the next thing where like it's a supply and demand.
Yes.
When it comes to breastfeeding, which I mentioned triple feeding is you breastfeed, then whatever the baby gets from the breast is what they get. From there, they will finish off with formula, so bottle feeding. And then while the baby is bottle feeding, I am pumping to try to get even more milk. My supply was never an issue, but I didn't know that at the time. And because we were so desperate to get her weight up, like I will do anything and everything. But eventually what happened was I could not go more than 2 hours without feeding or pumping, which then becomes an issue because you can create an oversupply. And that's not something you want either.
You're sleep deprived.
Yes. Oh, so sleep deprived. It's like every 2 hours, doesn't matter. She's asleep. Okay, well, I got to wake up and I got to pump.
Oh, gosh.
All these things.
Nobody warned you about.
Nobody says anything. And so you'll see things on social media where some women are like, oh, to wean, I'm going to put on like multiple sports bras.
Cabbages.
The cabbage leaves. I'm going to take Sudafed to like dry myself out.
I'm just not going to pump and suffer through it.
Yeah, which is, for me, it's incredibly painful. I'll also get like hot flashes and become drenched in sweat, like those hormones. Could not do it where they're just like, yeah, I decided to stop and I stopped.
I can't.
Yep. All of that's a process. And then even with pumping, right? When they told me you need to go get a pump, I said, well, I'm going to get a hands-free one because I want to be out and about and doing things. Did not know that at least within the first 6 weeks, you need more so a hospital grade type pump.
Yes.
Not the portable pump because it's not going to take out as much milk. Yeah, it's not going to work as well.
Right.
So when I was doing the wearables, I was getting maybe an ounce, 2 ounces, which is what brought in the whole fear of, my God, I don't make enough milk. My sister-in-law said, no, I have an extra pump. Try this one.
Love that.
And said, let's get you the right flange size. Because the ones that the pump comes with, I would say about 80% of women,
Don't
not
have
going to
that.
work for you.
Yeah, they issue these pumps with like generic sizes.
Yeah.
And
I think we rarely like measure any moms that are that size whenever they ask
they're
to
like
be measured.
32
Yeah.
flange. I'm like, what? How often do you? Okay, you know what?
Yeah. So we did that. And then in that pumping session, I got probably like 3 to 4 ounces. And she said,
Those hospital
you're
grade pumps are
perfectly
amazing.
fine.
Yeah.
She's like, you are good. Let's make sure it's on the right settings. Let's do this. Let's do that. And then from there, forget the wearables.
Yeah.
Right?
Facts.
I need my Spectra.
Yes.
Personally had that one and I loved it with passion.
Yeah.
Best friend for a whole year and a half.
All of that matters, especially when we go into some of like the myths that I saw, which was, again, you guys touched on it. It's natural. My body's made to do it. So I don't need any kind of intervention. I don't need any help. 100% not true.
I see a lot of moms come and they have this concern that my breasts aren't leaking. So that means I don't have enough milk. Some leak, some don't, right?
Everybody's
that's
different.
Yes, but that doesn't measure your production or your supply.
Yeah.
Right? Like you said earlier, Maria, it's really like a supply and demand. The more milk you take out, the more milk your body will make. Now, if you are going 2-3 days, of course, this is all with the right flange size and a hospital grade pump.
Perfect world. Yeah.
If you're pumping after baby's feeding, your body's going to be like, oh, she still needs this milk. She's taking it out. So let me replenish it. But the minute you go from, okay, well, I'm just not going to pump today because I don't feel like it. Or if those other concerns of going back to work, now you can't pump as often as you were before. Your body's going to start to delay some of those signals where now your body's like, well, she's not using it. She's not taking it. So I can stop making it. And then that falls back into another concern or struggle that some moms have of going back to work. Do they have a private room? Do they have the support from their employer? That's the biggest thing, having the support, because I have a lot of moms who may work in like childcare facilities or in
Restaurants.
education or restaurants, and we're all pro-woman, but how can we support this mom? You know?
I will say that thankfully, WCCHD, and especially at the time I was with clinical services, so working with all the nurses, many of whom have gone through their own breastfeeding journeys, were like, have you taken your break to pump?
Yeah.
Go pump, go pump. And that really helped extend my breastfeeding journey. One of the other things my sister-in-law let me know was that, especially if you're pumping to try to replace a feed,
Right.
you know, my kids, once they became very efficient, within 5 minutes would empty me with a pump. At least 15
it takes
minutes.
a couple minutes.
At least 15 minutes. You got to sit there. So don't get discouraged. If it's been 5 minutes and you're not seeing much, like you need to sit there a while, unfortunately.
Yes.
I try to let moms know when you're pumping. A lot of moms have this like, oh, it takes like, going to take 30 minutes because I have to set the pump up. And then I got to pump. And then I got to put the pump away.
And then I got to
put the milk away.
pump.
And then I got to do all these other things. Look at that time as like 15 minutes or 20 minutes to just sit.
Like listen to your favorite book.
Yes.
Watch a little bit of a favorite
Something,
TV
just
show.
Relax. You got this.
Yes. And we've touched on it already too. Pain from breastfeeding is not normal.
No.
If you are in pain, cracked bleeding nipples like myself, you need to see.
You need help. And it's
someone.
okay to ask for help
Yes.
early. You don't wait until you have the cracked and bleeding nipples. You know, get help early.
And I will say, just to add on from our older generation, like our moms, our grandmas, everything else, they kind of just like push through it or they went to formula. But most of our generation learns from that of, I just need to suffer through this. It will go away. I don't need to ask for help anything else. And then I think our generation is learning. We have social media. We can get on Facebook and find these mom groups that will help support us or know the right resources to go to help with like cracked and bleeding nipples or just give advice. No, they're not IBCLCs or nurses or anything else, but it's nice knowing that I don't have to make a doctor's appointment right now to get that help or to like help with basically anything for the most part after you have a baby or before you have a baby.
Yes. I will say, though, that in the same vein, I got a lot of anxiety looking at social media because especially the women that exclusively pump,
Yes.
my goodness, they'd be like, come to my morning pump with me. And they would get
Rainbows and
20
butterflies.
ounces. And
Gallons of
how
milk.
are you doing this when I am struggling just to get my 4 ounces? And you all cannot see me, but I am a petite woman. And so I assume that because I'm a petite person that I would naturally have a low supply. That is not true at all. That's not how it works.
No.
And 3 to 4 ounces is
Perfectly
the
normal.
normal and what your baby needs. Like these women are creating in excess either because they are consistently pumping. That may just be their supply. They may have be on their 3rd, 4th kid because each
Right.
time your supply does increase with each pregnancy.
And pumping can be useful. You know, don't
Yes.
get me wrong, pumping can be useful, but it's a tool.
Yes.
You know, excessive pumping can cause that oversupply, right? But it's not required for everyone to pump. If I have a mom who has a pretty good established supply, she plans to be a stay-at-home mom, you're going to be with baby 24.
There's no need to
What
pump
are we
like that at
pumping
all.
for?
Yeah.
And then she's like, well, I need to save it. What are we saving
Saving
it
it for. Yeah.
You're home with baby.
Yeah.
Now, like I said, it can be useful for in those moments where we need to pump to get our supply up. But it's not a requirement for everyone. You know, like I said earlier, everyone's breastfeeding journey is so different and everything. And that's another reason why I like what I do, because it's a different day every day.
It is.
You don't get the same story every day.
Yes. I think another one too is this mindset of it has to be all or nothing.
Yes.
I will say that for me, had it not been for introducing formula in the beginning, I do not think I would have been able to have gone on as long as I could, because in the moments where she was being given formula, that's when my husband would bottle feed her and I would get those 20, 30 minutes of sleep, whatever, before having to pump. So know that any amount of breast milk that you give your baby or however long you choose to do is a benefit to them.
Yes.
And does not mean you failed in any shape, way, or form if you need to introduce formula for whatever reason.
Yeah.
Right. Breastfeeding, it may be natural, right? But successful breastfeeding is something that we all need to support, you know?
No matter how much you're getting, how often baby gets it, nothing like that.
And so you all, when you're seeing moms, like, tell me what are the normal things you all go through? Obviously, lots of conversations about what's happening, but I think touched on it. A lot of this has to do with support. If you don't have the right support system, it's going to be very hard to stick with.
I will say what a big part, like just us as breastfeeding peer counselors do, is we listen to moms and especially ask, because I know I asked mom, what is your plan? What do you want to do? And then I can go from there. And every mom is different. Some moms are like, oh, I want to donate my milk. I'm like, yes. Okay. If you want to do that, I will help you as much as possible. And then other moms are like, I just want to meet a 6-month goal. And then other than that, I'm done. Because they breastfed their first baby for a whole year and they knew the struggles, everything else that they were already walking into. And with this baby, they were like, nope, 6 months and I'm good. So it just kind of depends on the mom and everything. And then at WIC, we see every day is different. That's all that I'm going to say.
I think a lot of moms come in with this imaginary expectations of what breastfeeding should look like. And social media is a very scary place.
Yeah.
All this TikTok, and it's a very scary place now. And when they come, they're like, Miss Mahogany, this is what I seen. So you have to help me get here. Wait, let's take a couple steps back. Let's talk about what your goals are. You know, let's take it step by step. Okay. Because that mom, she could be 6 months into her breastfeeding journey and you're 6 days postpartum. It's going to look completely different. So our main goal as peer counselors at the WIC office is just to meet that mom where she's at. And I was on a WIC with my child. So I get a lot of the struggles that some of our moms are facing today. And I'm really big on community and support. So if it's something that is out of my range, I'm very quick to contact a lactation clinic down in Austin. Hey, this mom needs you today. I get you guys are busy, right? But I'm seeing this mom in person. She needs a little bit of extra help, a little bit extra support. And I like that we're able to connect with that lactation clinic down in Austin and be able to help our moms because they handle WIC moms as well, right? And that's one of their main concerns, or from what I've seen, is just these high expectations and not knowing how to achieve those expectations because the education on breastfeeding is so limited. So when you have this younger mom who's a first-time mom and these big hospitals, they're like, well, this nurse told me I couldn't. Well, let's just take a break.
Take a breath.
Let's regroup, And I tell my moms all the time at my WIC office, you can come see me 3 times a week. You can come see me once a week, whatever your schedule looks like to help you get to that point that you need to get to, where your confidence is back up again. Because as moms, we all know we're very vulnerable right after we have a child. I tell moms, our bodies took 10 months to create this baby. It's not going to take you 10 days to get back. Okay. It's going to take a couple more, but with extra support, with that community, with that help, it's going to be a successful journey. Now, whatever that may look like to you.
Yes, absolutely. Like I said, had it not been for the support of my sister-in-law and then the support here at work, really pushing for it, I would not have gone as long as I did, 100%. And like you mentioned, once you have that experience and you have that support with my second child, I knew right away, okay, well, I need to get a pump before this baby gets here. I need to make sure my flange size hasn't changed.
Yes.
Went and saw a lactation consultant days after he was born to make sure he didn't have any issues like his sister. And yeah, we are still going. And he 100% fit the mold of what you see on social media where he latched right away.
Okay.
And was doing that every 2 to
Perfect
3
breastfeeding
hours.
journey.
Has gone into the, every 3 to 4, was able to drop the night feeds pretty early on, all the things. But I came in with the mindset already knowing I had bought formula ahead of time as well. If I needed to supplement, like I did all the things. And I think before we close out, we should definitely talk about weaning because that was a process for me. And like you mentioned, I had to scour social media to figure out what to do because I saw people who just apparently within a day, a week, and all I could think is, oh, you're going to give yourself mastitis,
Yes.
which can happen. For those that don't know, mastitis is an infection of the mammary tissue. If your ducts get clogged, which does happen if you miss feeds,
You have
you get
flu-like symptoms.
Personally had it and would not recommend it for anybody. It was awful. And it was during the last freeze that we had here in Texas.
No.
And so couldn't get any antibiotics or anything. Had to send my husband on like a 2-hour car ride to go inside of town to HEB. Hopefully they were open.
So yeah, how do we do that? Because I went through a process, but I feel like it took me ridiculously long to do it because I was so scared to get mastitis. You as the experts, what do you recommend?
Just from my personal experience, and what also I tell my moms is please do not go cold turkey for the most part and don't just let your breast sit there and suffer because you will most likely get mastitis, clogged milk ducts, all the fun stuff that comes along with breastfeeding. But the way that I personally did it, just you can drop off like the one feeding every few days, see how that goes. Don't fully empty out your breast because if you do that, you're consistently telling your body like, hey, baby's still wanting to eat. And so let's refill the tank basically. Slowly drop off the like 1 to 2 feedings every few days. Don't fully empty out your breast. And then for every mom, it's most likely going to be different because like my kiddo, for instance, he would not go to bed without being latched onto mommy.
That's what happened with my daughter.
And you're just like, mommy wants her body back, please. I'm just trying so hard. But if you have to give baby a bottle or anything, let daddy feed baby, let grandma feed baby, anything like that to help basically deny baby from getting the breast. Because if you keep latching baby on, you're going to just...
You become his pacifier.
Yes,
what the pediatrician tells me.
Yes. I'm like, and it's not fun being a human pacifier.
No, it's not. So, and to piggyback off of what Jaymee said, that's what I usually tell my moms as well. Let's say you're pumping 6 times a day, right? And you're pumping for 30 minutes each time. Okay, well, let's try to take away at least 2 pump sessions throughout that day, right? And not take it away completely, but at least cut that 30 minutes down to 15 minutes. Where now we're not pumping until we're empty. We're pumping until we're comfortable. Or that pressure is relieved from our chest. Do that for like a week. And then next week, let's take away 2 more pump sessions. Again, not 30 minutes, but just 15 minutes pump for relief. So now we're down from 6 to 4, right? And then do that for a week. And then just continue to take away those 30-minute pump sessions and cut them in half. And then eventually your supply would be like, oh, well, she's not even really using it. So I can just stop.
Yeah.
No one taught me that.
Let me tell you what I did, which was torturous. I would push each feed session by like an hour until they
No.
eventually, like the previous feed would meet into the next feed. And so every week it was like, okay, I'm going to push it another hour and then another hour and then another hour. Okay, within 2-3 weeks, we've dropped a feed. Okay, now we're going to keep going. And then finally, when I was down to maybe 3 sessions, then I was like, okay, well, I'm just going to pump. And like you said, I'm going to pump for 5 minutes, but also continuing to try to push each feed into the next. So she went to 18 months because I started at a year and it took me that long. It took me 6 months to finally be like, okay, we're done.
No one told me. And I think that's why we lasted 3 years, because originally it was supposed to just be 1 year. Okay.
He said no.
A year came and we were like looking at each other, like, what are we doing? And he was just like, I want booby. Okay. Right. Year 2 came and I'm like, all right, kid, what are we doing? He's like, mommy, booby?
Booby.
Okay. I was so afraid of mastitis, of engorgement, clogged ducts. I didn't have the education. I didn't have the outside support, to be able to successfully wean him at an earlier age. Because 3 with a mouthful of teeth.
Oh, yeah.
Those days are bringing back a lot of painful nights, but we got through it. Eventually, like I said, he was already in daycare. And this was when we lived in North Carolina. So daycare, we lived in the country. So they were feeding him like cheese, toast, and grits for breakfast.
Yummy.
So when he came home, he was like, Mom, I just want you to go to sleep. All right. We got to nighttime feeds. And like I said earlier, he just one night just didn't come over for a nighttime feed. And at that point, I was like, oh, we're done? Like, now I'm sad. So like,
go cry in the corner. Mine was the same way. One night he just went right to bed, no feeding, no nothing. And then I went back to my room and kind of cried. And my husband walks in and he goes, what's wrong? I was like, he doesn't want to feed for me anymore. And he goes, well, isn't that a good thing? And I was like, go, just walk out.
No, I had to tell my daughter, like, no, boopy. Sorry, go to daddy. No, boopy.
And her little face is like, please.
With the teeth, because that was the worst part. She would fall asleep, realize she was unlatching, and I was like, I'm done.
Or when they're asleep with teeth and it's like their teeth is grazed against the breast and you try to slowly pull and then they pull with
You're like
Yep.
preparing for it.
Yeah, all that. So happy my son doesn't have teeth yet, but I'm getting ready.
Mentally preparing.
We need to start now. Well, thank you all so much, ladies. Really, this is such a relatable conversation to have that, like I mentioned, nobody talks about these things when you're getting ready to have a baby. And I think it's incredibly important, especially with, again, August being breastfeeding month, that women be aware, hey, just because it's natural doesn't mean it comes easy. There's all these things that we need to address. And that's why we've got peer support counselors with WIC, but also if you don't have WIC, there are lactation consultants. Many of them take insurance. So I would recommend, especially if you're nearing the end of your pregnancy and you know for a fact that you want to breastfeed, definitely speak to a lactation consultant.
Yes. There's one in Austin, like I said, there's one in Austin who doesn't draw insurance. Just call, make an appointment.
I'm like, and there's the support hotline.
Support hotline
24/7
in Dallas.
365 days.
Resources and numbers out there specifically for breastfeeding. We just have to be that one to like push it.
And do you all have that support number on you?
So that support hotline number for breastfeeding support, 24 hours, 7 days a week, it's free and available to all moms. It's 855-550-6667.
Awesome. And we'll have that in our show notes as well. So you all can go back, look at it. And, final reminder that everybody's breastfeeding journey looks different.
Yes.
If you breastfeed for a few hours, few days, weeks, months, years, and everything, yes.
You did it.
Is good
Give
for
yourself
your baby.
a pat on the back.
Ladies, again, thank you so much. Thank you to our WIC division and our breastfeeding partners. We'll put some of those support resources again in the show notes if anyone is interested. to learn more about how to support your breastfeeding journey. And a big thank you to you if you've made it to the end of this episode. If you enjoyed what you heard, please follow this podcast, comment, and share this episode with family and friends. Want to learn more about emerging public health issues and all the great work Williamson County and City's Health District does to manage them? Tune in on the 2nd, 4th, and sometimes 5th Tuesday of every month for new episodes where we'll discuss WCCHD's roles in keeping our communities healthy and safe. Be sure to check out our website at WCCHD.org and follow us on all our social media pages for more information and podcast updates. Are you interested in learning more about a specific public health topic for a future episode? Feel free to reach out to us at publichealthistx@wilcotx.gov. And remember, public health is you, it's me, it's we, it's us, it's breastfeeding.